Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. Before we go any further, I would like to ask everyone who can to please stand and pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Also, as we call the meeting to order, standard statement, can everybody please turn off their cell phones? And I probably haven't turned off mine. For those who are attending for the do not have a copy of the agenda or who's coming from the first time, we will concern ourselves first with cases that are on consent. These cases have already been reviewed by the board and by our professionals here on staff at the county, and to which there is no known opposition at this point. We have discussed these in our work session, and certain staff comments and stipulations have been made. And we do not just anticipate any further discussion is needed for the decision. So as we go forward, the County Zoning Division Manager, Mr. John Peterson, will read each case into the record. Mr. Peterson will ask you to raise your hand so we know you're here and to signify that you are present. If there is opposition to the case that's currently on consent, it will be taken off the consent agenda and put into our regular agenda for the day. We will then vote on all the cases still on consent at one time. Once we have approved the cases on consent, we will move to our regular agenda. With that, we're ready to address the consent cases. Mr. Peterson?
And before we address the consent agenda, there are a number of cases on the consent agenda which are going to be pulled off and be placed on our regular hearing agenda. First case is variance case of V46, signal signs. This case is being pulled off consent and placed in the regular agenda line. The second one is variance case of V48, Alita Guerrero. This case is being pulled off the consent agenda and placed in its place on the regular agenda. Additionally, is the applicant here for variance case V42, Aqua Design Pools and Spas? Please come forward.
Yes, sir.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Faye Colbert, Aqua Design Pools and Spas out of Cumming, Georgia.
Okay. Faye, it's my understanding that the sign was down for the variance case.
Yes, sir.
Do you know for how long it was down for?
It fell down on Friday afternoon during the high winds that we had. We were made aware when zoning called yesterday to let us know that it was down and missing. We had it up probably within the next 30 minutes. We had a project manager in the area who picked a new sign up from the zoning department, and it was placed on site with extra staples this time.
Okay. Madam Chair and Board, it's within your discretion whether you want to continue this case or hear it, since the sign was not posted for its full 30-day posting period.
Mr. Blind?
Yeah, just given my love for due process, it would be my motion that we would remove this from this calendar and hear it in 30 days, provided the sign remains up this time.
I second it.
All in favor, please vote. Case will be held over.
All right. So we need to give Faye a sticker for the new sign for the new date, Kelly Dairies. All right. No, they do have stickers right here. And with that, Madam Chair and Board, I'm ready to start the consent agenda. 2, 6, 48. Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals variance hearing consent agenda for May 11th, 2022. First case on consent is variance case V40, Lawrence Silver. Request a variance to number 1, reduce the rear setback from required 20 feet to 15 feet. And number 2, increase the maximum impervious coverage from required 40 feet to 42.7% in land lot 813 of the 17th district. The property is located on the north side of Briarstone Circle, west of Ellard Terrace. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V40? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V41, Edward Placu requests a variance to increase the maximum impervious coverage from required 40% to 48.5% in land lot 984 of the 16th district. The property is located on the north side of Bridgegate Cove, east of Bridgegate Drive. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V41? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V45, Ronald E. Grant requests a variance to, number 1, allow an accessory structure, which is an existing approximately 572 square foot garage, to be located to the side of the principal building in land lot 844 of, land lots 844 and 859 of the 19th district. The property is located on the west side of Mulkey Road, west of Cherokee Trails Drive. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V45? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V47, Jordan Hershey requests a variance to reduce the exterior side setback from required 20 feet to 15 feet adjacent to the southern property line, which is existing, in land lot 155 of the 1st District. The property is located on the eastern side of Willow Springs Drive, south of Bayless Drive. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Yes. Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V47? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. And that completes the consent agenda, Madam Chair and Board, with items V42, V46, and V48 off the consent agenda.
Do I hear a motion? Is there any discussion prior to our making a motion? We good?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right, please record your votes. It passes 4-0. Thank you.
Okay, all those folks that were on consent agenda, you're free to leave. Next case is variance case V23. Larry Manning requests a variance to number 1, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an approximately 550 square foot basketball concrete pad from required 35 feet to 9 feet. And number 2, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a 660 square foot baseball cage, required 100 feet to 1 foot adjacent to the eastern property line and the 7 feet adjacent to the rear property line in land lot 975 of the 16th district. The property is located on the north side of Fairfield Drive, east of Fielding Way. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V23?
Yes, 5.
5. Let the record show there are 5 people here opposed to variance case V23. All those who wish to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in. Yeah, if y'all speak, y'all go get sworn in. Yeah. Let them go.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Park Stuff, the law firm of Sam's Larkin and Huff, and I represent Mr. and Mrs. Manning, who are here regarding this variance application before you. We had a hearing last time, so I'm not going to rehash everything. At the last hearing, it was asked that we go back and try to come up with some mitigation measures that would alleviate and address the concerns of the neighbors regarding noise and such. So we have done that. Wanted to address quickly 3 kind of things that came up. One was there's a drainage easement. We've had a lot of dialogue with Mr. Carver that the drainage easement, in fact, my clients have done an excellent job on the drainage, and the easement is well respected, and the items in the easement area do not in any way impact that. And I think Mr. Braden has asked us to sign a hold harmless agreement. We're fine with that. There is a sewer easement in the area, but not anywhere adjacent to this property. That was another issue. So we wanted to address that. just to remind you, both neighbors on the left and right of us were here. One of them was here in support, and the other one sent a letter in support of the application, and the Indian Hills Civic Association sent a letter in support of the application. This is, want to quickly address the hardship question, and because there is a significant amount of grade differential on this property. On the left-hand side, that's 990. On the back corner right-hand side, that's 975. So you've got a 15-foot drop from the existing grade halfway back left to right. And that is a good bit of topography. This is the house that is there now is done at almost the exact same height as the previous house. I know some there's a concern about raising it. He did not do that. The only difference is he's got a patio walkout in the back instead of a daylight basement. But in fact, this is a pretty good grade differential, 15 feet in that short of a span. And that's some of the things that we're addressing here. So I wanted to address the hardships related to that. The mitigation measures, and you've received a letter from me dated the 5th of May that address some of these. The first thing is a privacy fence along the back property line. We're proposing an 8-foot tall vinyl privacy fence, which would be a solid privacy fence. We've also would agree to planting emerald arborvitaes, and I'm going to go into that a little bit more. The artificial turf would be installed over the basketball court right now. Mr. Bloin noted that it's got a kind of a plastic cover over it, over the concrete, and that can create a lot of echoing and such. So we would replace that with a turf on the basketball, which would greatly reduce the noise. We have a limitation on using rubberized balls in a pitching machine, which is a practice ball that is quieter than a typical baseball or softball. We have hours of limitations that we've proposed, and that, just to be clear, these are for personal use only and would be removed when the kids are no longer using it, anticipate around 2030. Wanted to give you some idea on how the privacy fence, which would be 8-foot tall privacy fence. This is a shot that was presented by the neighbor behind us that was presented in the record last time, and it shows the 5-foot tall fence that is there now, which is a decorative metal fence. So you replace it with an 8-foot tall hard vinyl, solid vinyl fence. You can see the height of that would do a good job of obscuring not only the basketball area, but the backyard in general. Wanted to point out, too, that for 7 to 8 months of the year, the property is heavily treed behind us. Again, I want to remind you that the neighbors to the left and right that are the closest to this, that are Indian Hills neighbors, fully support the application. So the neighbors behind us have concerns, and you can see during the summer months, it's heavily treed and provides a barrier. The right-hand picture, again, I want to point out that there is a grade differential, and actually the location of the batting cage on the lowest part of the property is the best location for it. It sits at low, but it also is a factor with the grade differential that we have there. Again, just showing you how we have the equipment here, and what we would do is a privacy fence along the back. We're showing a proposed planting of the emerald arborvitae in that back area adjacent to Miss Ryan, which she joins us on that section there, and is in the basketball goal. I've talked to David Griffin, and he finds that the emerald arborvitae is an effective barrier. Green giants is the other one that was mentioned, but those are quite a bit taller and have different factors. And I did want to, where's the picture that shows the, oh, here it is. You can see there on the right-hand side, those are what we would do. They would be planting a lot more of them because they're 5 foot on center. And so we can get them taller to begin with, and they're planted 5 foot on center, and they create a great hedge. and you can see how that is effective there. And so that's why we would be proposing the Emerald Arborvitae, and we would submit a landscape plan to the county arborist. A couple of fences were suggested. One was a wooden shadow box fence, which is on left-hand side, and we're proposing the vinyl fence. Just wanted to make clear that we're proposing the vinyl fence, not cost savings, but because it's solid, because it's maintenance, low maintenance, and we think would be a better visual barrier and sound barrier. And it is not being proposed to try to save money because it was suggested with a wooden shadow box fence. So those are the mitigation measures that we've come up with. We're open to other suggestions and ways to mitigate the play equipment. Do want to just emphasize, we're talking about, equipment that children are using to play outside, something we all should be encouraging as much as we can. The use of the backyard for these uses is totally appropriate. You want to say something real quick? Or I might have covered it all.
You covered it all. I do want to thank you for the opportunity to explore this in the greater detail that we have been able to do. I do want to say about those arborvitaes, we do have a French drain system that runs on that back property line. So there's rock underneath there and into corrugated pipe. The green giants have anchor roots. I've talked to a horticulturist and an arborist, and they have anchor roots, and they would go into those pipes easily. Plus, they would they're 20 feet wide, so it would take up a substantial amount of the backyard. The emeralds, they stay within 12 inches of the surface, and they grow. The roots go out, so they won't affect that pipe. So I'm pretty comfortable that they'll grow well and not affect any drainage. So I think that's
And they grow to
15 feet high and only 5 feet wide, as you can see in the picture on the right. So
we'd be planting probably 3 times the number.
right, and so I think with the artificial turf on the basketball court and a fence that's going to block so much noise, you won't hear anything really of any kind of dribbling. So that's why we proposed the tree line where it was, or it is. Anything else?
Again, we appreciate y'all's thoughtful consideration of the case. I think, we've tried to come up with the mitigation measures that are consistent with previous policies of this board and are open to other ones. And I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you. And I'll be glad to answer, if other questions come up after the opposition speak, I'll be glad to answer any questions that arise at that time. Thank you.
At the podium, if you'll please state your name for the record, and Cornelius can help you with any audio visuals.
Hi, my name is Ron Powell, and I represent 1167 Springs Circle. I represent the property right behind Mr. Manning. Minhas property is opposed to the granting of this variance B23. It is by all means self-inflicted hardship. The owner of said property is adamantly opposed to this variance being granted. It has created a hardship for the tenant at this location, Ms. Moran. I've received daily complaints from Ms. Moran as to the noise and lighting creating a disruption in Ms. Moran's peace and tranquility. Ms. Moran pays $2,000 per month for this location, and by all means, our tenant is entitled to reasonable peace and tranquility in our home where Ms. Moran resides. The board is assembled and convened for a sole purpose of enforcing Cobb County's building codes and compliances. Restrictions as we see it, the board is compelled to deny this variance in its present form. We further believe Mr. Manning should remove the sports complex in its entirety. And as a former manager of new home construction, as the Cobb County enforcement used to say, go back to the end of the line, start over with your site plan. As you're aware, when this event occurs, a big red stop sign is placed on the property. When we're at this juncture, We are not even permitted to put a light bulb into the structure until it is re-inspected and the violations are corrected and permitted. Mr. Manning should gain no special privilege by being represented by an attorney, nor should Mr. Manning be permitted to avoid the process that builders, contractors, and to include everyday homeowners have to comply with. Mr. Manning, by all means, has gone to a great lengths and costs with regards to his endeavor to circumnavigate the Cobb County codes and setback easements. In our agreement to let Mr. Manning remove our property chain link fence to be replaced with a current standing fence, it was agreed that Mr. Manning would comply with the Cobb County codes. It appears at this time that he is not. And lastly, I conclude with a request for the board. I would request that this board address Mr. Manning and his counsel, Mr. Van, and assurance his clients will refrain from aggressive behavior upon exiting this hearing, to include retribution with regards to our resident, Ms. Moran, that myself and others opposing residents were subject to upon exiting the last variance hearing. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Ryan, along with my neighbors on Seven Springs Circle. As we have communicated to the owner and the BZA a number of times, we believe the proper action for the board is to deny V23. This is a copy of the variance requirements. There is no compelling hardship or other reason to entertain a premeditated violation of code compounded by significant changes in the topography created by the applicant. Furthermore, this is not a neighbor-to-neighbor dispute to be resolved. It's a clear code violation for the BZA to enforce. To summarize, as you can see, V23 should be denied for the following reasons. Number one, there is no extraordinary or exceptional conditions for this particular property because of its size, shape, or topography per Cobb County Code 106-95. This is a standard R20 lot. The owner and contractor purposefully regraded the property to install two retaining walls when creating the violation. There is no hardship. The violation is self-created. These accessory structures would be more appropriate on a larger property with sufficient setback from neighbors. These structures are wants, not needs. 3, the owner, builders, and contractors ignored requirements and did not pull permits for either the cement basketball court or batting cage. They should not have been installed in the first place. The BZA should not ignore these egregious actions, which show lack of respect for following codes. To date, no compliant plan has been shared by the applicant addressing the setback violations of these backyard structures. These structures and pole lights should be removed immediately. As mitigation, the basketball hoop and court should be moved to the front of the house and use the existing nearby facility. It was clear on April 23rd BZA hearing that V23 does not meet the variance requirement per Cobb County Code 106-95. The BZA is duty-bound to resolve these violations and deny this variance and not condone premeditation violation, or future applicants claiming this will feel empowered to violate codes. Due to any of the above points, but certainly in aggregate, V23 should clearly be denied and all accessories, including the pole light, be removed. I just have a comment about the pitching machine. Please no pitching machine if this is okayed. And a vinyl fence does not stop sound like a wooden shadow box fence. Also, along the whole entire property, there should be a fence, not just along where I live. It should go all along the whole entire thing if this is approved. And also, what about the plants? If something happens to the plants, is Mr. Manning responsible for taking care of these plants? I don't want to have the plants die and then cut them down and say, oh, they died. And I think that's about all. I do have some pictures.
And just a reminder, we have about 3 minutes and 30 seconds left if anyone else is going to be speaking after you.
Okay, I don't, Rick, you want to talk? Do you have 3 minutes? Do you need 3 minutes? I need a minute and a half. Okay. The picture on the bottom is before the Mannings purchased the property, and on top is where they were during the total taking out all the trees down. This is a picture of the batting cage. You can see it's very large, it's the size of a semi-tractor trailer truck. And this is the pole light with the basketball court, and it is close to the property line. And I think that's all that I had. Rick?
Madam Chairwoman, board members, my name is Richard Grome. I am president of East Cobb Civic Association and ECCA case manager for V23. ECCA never received a copy of the applicant's proposed solutions for mitigation. Be that as it may, let's review the facts. 2 of the 4 adjacent neighbors are in opposition to the applicant's request for variance. The request for variance was a result of code enforcement complaint. The structures are clearly built within the setback prescribed by Cobb County Code. Both the batting cage and the basketball court are encroaching on the required 35-foot setback to the rear of the property. The reason the applicant has given for requesting this variance is that the property is limited in size. He doesn't have enough land to do what he wants to do. There is no hardship present in this case with regard to shape or topography of the lot. The applicant has graded the lot considerably and created his own problems. ECCA believes the BZA should not reward the applicant for disregarding the Cobb County Code at the expense of the peace and tranquility of half of the adjacent neighbors. Cobb County codes have been developed and codified for a reason and should be enforced. Therefore, ECCA recommends denial of this variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Does this include all the opposition has had time to speak? So we now close the public hearing on this matter. And before we move forward, I would just like to remind everyone that please be advised that the decorum will be maintained during this public hearing. Any comments made out of order will not be considered by the BZA, nor will there be any tolerance of disobedient or failure to adhere to the sanctity of this public hearing. Once the public hearing is closed, and only then, only members of the BZA may speak as to the application before us unless specifically requested through questions by a member. Anyone not observing the decorum and our rules and procedures before this board will be removed from this room and this building by Officer Lyons. It troubles me to hear we even had issues outside this room at the last hearing. Kim, would you like to hand this over to you since it's your district?
So I've spent a great deal of time going over what the applicant has proposed to mitigate, as well as what the people in opposition, their concerns as well, and trying to come up with something that that hopefully will improve or mitigate some of the visual, the sound that sort of needs to be implemented. So the first, according to Dave Braden, who's the Director of Stormwater Management, the Mannings will sign a hold harmless with regards to accessory structures, fence, and trees in the buffer easement. The second is that the Mannings will provide to the county landscape architect, David Griffin, a professionally designed landscape buffer by a certified landscape architect to include at the minimum 6 feet emerald arborvitae trees in the entire back of the Manning property. Any dead trees will be removed immediately and replaced within 30 days. The other is with regards to an installation of a fence, and I don't think there's anyone here that can speak to what a vinyl or a wooden fence is. There's no one from the county here.
No acoustic. Maybe John's one.
I don't know which is a deadening sound. So I do agree to install an 8-foot fence. I think the shadow box fence that was shown by Mr. Huff wasn't really what I had in mind as far as a wooden fence being where the pickets are close together on both sides. Are the vinyl fencing? I don't know. I'm kind of at pause right now of which one would be the better of them. So I'll just move on from that and go back to that wooden fence. So the size of the batting cage, it's 7.5 feet from the back of the property. And when talking with David Griffin about what's needed in order to plant trees along the back, it was felt by Mr. Griffin that it would be better to, it's going to be narrow where the plantings are going to be, and that the batting cage needs to be reduced to 2 feet back from the rear so that the trees along the entire back of the property from side to side can be fit in there well and have a good chance of growing well. So I propose to reduce the size of the batting cage by 2 feet from the back of the property. And as far as with the batting cage, the pitch machine needs to be placed at the back of the cage closest to the house. It will be for personal use only. No teams will be allowed to use the batting cage. No lights in the cage, or no lights directed to the cage from other light sources. And I'll include that the practice balls in talking to Mr. Huff, is that the practice balls are a rubberized ball, so rubberized balls to be used only. The basketball court, I agree with the removal of the plastic tile court and to install artificial turf, which in Parks Huff's letter to me was called a putting green turf on the concrete slab. The light that is installed over the basketball court will have a shield on the back, and the light will be directed downward, and that plan, before it's implemented, needs to be submitted and approved by the Director of Code Enforcement, Kathy Pickett. The hours of use for both the batting cage and the basketball court will be from 9 a.m. to dusk. And in the letter that Parks submitted to me was the agreement to remove the cage in 2029, even though I saw that it's now 2030. So I could call you up in a second and ask you what the date when the children will graduate. Can I, Mr. Peterson, could I take like just a 5-minute recess just to look into this fence system?
We can do that, yes.
Can I do that,
I can do
Madam
it,
Chair?
yeah. So,
I'd like to take a 5-minute recess and look at my phone.
all right.
Thank you.
We will take a 5-minute recess and be back shortly. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to you.
So in looking online, if a vinyl or wooden can deaden the sound, so I'll make another motion that you will install an 8-foot vinyl fencing in dark brown, and the vinyl fence will block up. This type of vinyl fence will block up to 98% of direct sound with a sound transmission class rating of 26. So I would like for the vinyl fence to have the classification, the STC, sound transmission classification of a rating 26 to block it'll deaden the sound better than the wooden fence. And then it was agreed that it would be in dark brown. And so all of these things you'll come into compliance within 45 days of this meeting. And that's my motion.
Second.
Madam Chair, before we take a vote, can we just ask BZA member Kim to restate it as a motion? I would like a motion and then just say adopt what you previously said, because I don't think that was stated in the form of a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion to adopt.
Approve.
What?
Approve.
To adopt I'd like to make the motion to approve my, I don't even know my sound. I'm not doing very good today.
I would suggest I'd like to make a motion to approve what I had previously stated
Okay,
in regards to application of variance V23,
got it.
and then we'll take a second. I just want to make sure we have that very clear.
So I would like to make a motion to approve what I previously stated with regards to V23. I'd like to have a second, please.
And I'll go ahead and second that with the understanding that the motion is to approve the variance request subject to all the items stated as specific required conditions of the approval.
Clerk, is that acceptable the way that is for the minutes? Thank you.
Just a comment if I may? Okay, thank you very much, and I'll try to be brief, but I just wanted to thank the District 2 member for all the hard work in giving due consideration to every single way in which people playing in this backyard could adversely affect the neighbors, and in trying to substantially mitigate any adverse condition that there could possibly be from that playing in the backyard. And I hope it leads to people being good neighbors.
Vote is 4-0 in favor of the action. Thank you. Next case, Mr. Peters?
Okay. Next case is variance case V39. Gary Lammy requests a variance to reduce the side setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a proposed approximately 442 square foot shed, required 10 feet to 0 feet adjacent to the western property line in land lot 1168 of the 16th district. The property is located on the northeastern side of Stony Brook Drive, north of Amanda Lane. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V39? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
If you'll please state your name, and also Cornelius is here to help you with any materials you might want to show us.
Okay, Gary Lammy, and I just have a few pictures of the property as we have it. Sorry, I wasn't ready for That's a picture of the left side of the house where the privacy fence is, and as it's the structure as it was already being built and didn't realize that there was an issue with this. Yeah, you can't even see it from the street at this point. You go to the next one. That's the backyard area where we've had trees had fallen down, and it's down into a creek zone. There's a complete creek that's back there. You can't see any neighbors behind us. You go to the next one. Again, that's a similar shot, and that's about a 12-foot drop from where the structure is all the way to the bottom of the base of the fence line. And then the property goes another 60, 70 feet back there as well. Again, there's some of the trees that fell over in the property. You go to the next one. I'm standing at the bottom, at the baseline. Took a picture of the side of the structure. We were in the process of building when we had to stop it from being completed. Go ahead and get the next one. Again, another shot of that, me at the bottom of the fence line, taking a picture upwards. Similar situation, same thing, the bottom of it. You go to the next one. This is me at a little bit lower, but not quite far as down the walkway right there. You go to the next one. That's a shot of my neighbor's yard. He skins the yard down, and then constant runoff of mud onto my property, which resulted in me building a cinder block wall. You can pull the next one. And there's a cinder block wall that we put up. That wire meant fencing is for my dog doesn't jump over until we finish the privacy fence part of that. Go ahead. That's my yard to the right, his yard to the left, so we're right on the property line. This kind of started out as, I had it as it's a driveway right there. I've been in the house 19 years. It was there when we got there. We put a batting cage in. It's funny, it's a batting cage situation again, but we took the batting cage down and we decided to kind of put a cover on it. It got a little crazy. We put a little bit more and a little bit more, and then someone notified zoning or compliance that we were too close to the property line. I don't know who it was, but so that's the way it sits right now, right on the property line. And I just took another shot of that a little further up. That's at the very front. To the right of that is where the privacy fence is, the privacy gate that you saw in the first picture. That's a shot of 5 feet away, very closely 5 feet away of a drainage that the neighbor has that drains. If you'll take the next picture, I'll show them the next one. So there's a drain that was put in from their garage. I don't know if it's supposed to be 5 feet inside or 5 feet to the back of it, so I just took a measurement of the 5 feet. So they're at 5 feet if it's the back. If not, when it rains in the gutter, it just rains completely onto my driveway, and that's part of the reason why we built that cinder block wall, was to stop that mud drain off year after year, scraping 3-4 inches of mud off of the out of the batting cage area, which we decided to convert now that my boys are all done playing baseball. So that's it.
Essentially, the reason for this shed is because you needed to add a bathroom in your basement.
Exactly. So my wife is the mother of 3 boys and myself. She's never had her own private bathroom. So we're going to convert one of the bedrooms upstairs, put a doorway into the main bathroom, and we need another bathroom. In order to do so, when we moved into the house almost 20 years ago, there was already a sanitary was already put in. There's a spot for a toilet down in the basement garage area. It's actually kind of in the garage. Unfortunately, at that point right now, that's where our laundry room is. So we wanted to take all of our yard tools and all of our tools and stuff, make another garage for storage of that stuff, and convert the area that has the tools in it to the laundry room. There's already plumbing there, there's already drainage there, and then turn that back area, which is the laundry room, into the new bathroom, because we have to have a second bathroom. I got 3 boys that are 19, 21, and 23, and they don't smell so good when they come home from working out, so.
emailed you yesterday regarding that the 25-foot state buffer is the only one that concerns you and not the 50-foot or the 75-foot. So I just wanted to be sure you were aware that that's been a change.
I saw that in the email, and I can get the surveyor who did the survey of the property to, I guess, eliminate whatever those other two lines that you put in there. So when we go to permitting, when I went to permitting, they gave me a number, but had to go through this process first, and then go back to them if approved, and they'll go ahead and issue us a placard and have an inspector come out and take a look at the half-built structure that we've got right now, and see if there's any changes that need to be made or if there's some sort of code violation on their end.
So regarding the side setback, the requirement is 10 feet and you're at 0 feet. That's really the big issue. But while you're here, can you talk about the gutters you're planning on installing?
So as it is right now, the main idea right now is to leave it as is, put a gutter system in it, and then the gutter system would drain normally as it would normally drain off of my house or anything else. As we sit lower than the property that's next to us, when the rain comes in from the street or anything like that, it goes down that driveway and it just constantly pours out that way. So putting that retaining wall in, we hope or the cinder block wall to hope to curb some of that. But if there's any concern by the neighbor of having runoff into his property, then we're going to put a gutter in anyhow. I mean, it's just, we have to put a gutter. We just can't let it just drain over to his side. I mean, I had to put the wall in to make the mud stop from going onto my side, but, we'll do what we got to do.
Okay. Any comments from my fellow commissioners?
So, just for clarification, this is really, where this is located, is at like a continuance of your driveway, and you put a batting cage in when the boys were small?
Yeah, when they were little. And
Yeah.
We didn't use it much because of all the mud and everything else, so we
Yeah,
just,
so but that driveway was there when you moved in, and
Oh,
you
yes,
just
ma'am.
followed the line of the driveway?
yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I had a question. I saw what is the roof line going to be? Is it going to be sloped like a shed roof, or is it going to be peaked?
There's a small peak. It's an 18-inch peak right now. We were thinking of doing 2 foot, but I didn't want to go too high, so we did an 18-inch off center. So the center of it's at 18 inches, and it goes down. There's a gradual slope. And like I said, on both sides of it, because to the right of it, there's a little bit of an area that we could make into like a little patio area. Then everything else is just drop off to that green area where the creek is behind the privacy fence, or not privacy, but the chain link fence. That's going to get replaced as well. It's just too many trees have fallen on it. But that on both sides of that pitch, we'll have a gutter system on it.
And then the gutter system will go into a pipe system?
It'll
to
just
pipe
it'll
it
drain
out?
down. That's what the creek zone is there. I mean, even my own home gutters just drain into the yard. I mean, they don't drain anywhere in particular.
So you could put like those black plastic
We
gutter
can.
that go out and leads directly to?
We can, yeah, that's not a problem. I mean, I didn't really think it fully through exactly how we're going to handle that, but it's definitely going to be gutted. And if it needs to be drained out through a black pipe area, then it's not a problem.
Yeah,
at
it'd
all.
probably be beneficial since you have so much water to get as much removed by those plastic tubes.
Sure, and we'll make sure it goes out and down and away from everybody's property, so.
Okay.
Do I understand it then that in essence, the roof that's already being shown to us here is actually overhanging over the neighbor's property line?
It's right on the property line, yes, sir, it's right hanging over it.
Okay, so is the proposed shed that gets built, is this the proposed shed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Are you using part of the wall as part of the support for this shed?
Yes, sir.
Could you still use those supports and move the shed like 2 feet over onto your property so it's not overhanging over your neighbor's property?
I do have a couple different plans that an architect friend of mine had drawn up to have that look, to have it brought in. One of them is to actually stub it off, like where you see where the blue tarp is hanging down, have that part of the roof completely stubbed off so it's right actually on the property line over the wall, and then go ahead and put a gutter line on that so it's not actually hanging over into his property line.
So what kind of siding is going to be on this wall that's facing your neighbor's property?
Hardy plank.
Okay, well, that's going to look good then, but occasionally you might need to give it some sort of treatment or something.
Oh, sure,
right?
sure,
So,
sure,
so
sure.
then you would have to go on your neighbor's property to do it?
Sure.
Okay, and so could it still be done with the hardy plank face is a couple feet over, like 2 feet over? Would that work?
I mean, we could try to make that happen. I don't know. I'd have to talk to the people that were building it to see if it's possible, but I don't think it'd be that much of an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Was there anybody here in opposition to this? No? So your neighbor is okay with the way this looks and this going over onto
Well,
his
here's what I
property?
talked, the neighbor doesn't speak English very well. And so basically what he said, I told him that I would need to have him, my other neighbor to the right, the people behind me sign off. I've lived in the house 19 years. I don't know anybody that's behind me. They're in and out. I don't know who they are. The neighbor to the right, he's like in his 90s. And the guy to the left said, I'm not going to sign. My lawyer said not sign, but not going to oppose it either. So I sent him all certified letter explaining exactly what we were doing, who, what, when, where, and why. And he knew that and hasn't, I mean, I'd see him every day, just about. We say hello. He did mention the fact that this was drainage into his property. I said, we're going to put a gutter line on it. Like I said, we could stub it off where it's not so angled over to it's kind of on side of over our property line. The issue is that some of the supports are part of the cinder block wall, and that would have to be something that I have to talk to the guys who built it to kind of see if they can move it
Is
in.
there a possibility of pitching it steeper so that you don't have to have those sides? It comes in steeper? 'Cause
Yeah,
right
we
now
also
it's sort
talked
of
about.
flattened out. If it came up, you wouldn't have so much of an overhang, and it could actually sit along that wall.
Yeah, we could do that. And like I said, I've got a copy plan here of one, if you want to see it, of the of how we would stub it off if needed to be. Not.
You have a copy of the plan? Can you show us
Yes,
those,
ma'am.
please?
That all on there, but that's it right there. So the bottom left corner, the one where he's pointing at too, as you see, as it's stubbed off to where the posts that are in concrete right now, the supports, it's stubbed at that point right there, and then we'd be able to put a gutter line on it, whereas there would be a very minimal amount of anything that would collect other than natural rainwater that would fall out of the sky on this property. What we would have would be collected off that roof.
So putting a gutter, I kind of like that flat look, putting a gutter along that, and then, of course, you would take care of any of the leaves so it doesn't get clogged.
Oh, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
what was kind of stated is that overhangs are good, not on other people's properties, but they're good so that you don't have this splattering of mud and everything.
Sure.
But maybe put.
Well, that's why we built the cinder block walls to stop the mud from his property, which he skin it.
Right.
The last 3 years he's been here, he cuts everything off, it's just mud, and then it just drains.
But I think you can get, because I know we have it on our house, like bigger, larger width of gutters.
Sure.
So
Listen,
putting
I'm willing to make sure that what we already did, I don't have to throw away and put what we have to put up there to take care of it. It's not a problem.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the drawings. I hadn't seen those prior to today. The front view and stubbing it there, I think is much more acceptable. The gutter is a must to handle the water so that it doesn't impact your neighbor. And so I would like to make a motion to leave the storage shed garage as is with the stubbing off of the roof there as shown in this front view photo. Install the gutter system as we discussed. And that's my motion.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair. Can I get Alice just to clarify that it's a motion to approve? Ms. Summer.
My motion is to approve V39 as stated
As
previously.
previously stated, that's fine.
Second.
All right, it passes 4-0. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.
Good luck on your construction.
Okay, next case is variance case V43, Robert A. Norton Jr. Request a variance to number 1, allow an accessory structure, which is a proposed 1,225 square foot garage, to be located to the side of the principal building and closer to the side street right-of-way line. Number 2, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 1,000 square feet for the proposed 1,225 square foot garage, from required 100 feet to 7 feet adjacent to the northwestern property line, and from 100 feet to 40 feet adjacent to the southeastern property line. And number 3, reduce the setback for an accessory structure under 144 square feet for an existing approximately 80 square foot shed from required 5 feet to 2 feet adjacent to the southeastern property line in land lots 206 and 226 of the 16th district. The property is located on the southeast corner of Wellington Drive and Hawkins Store Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V43? Please keep your hands raised. 2, okay. Let the record show there's 2 people here opposed to variance case V43. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in. Would the applicant please come forward? Okay, just go up there.
Please state your name, and if you have anything, any audiovisual recording, us will take care of it for you.
No, ma'am, I don't. My name is Robert Allen Norton, Jr. We're requesting to build a garage for personal use on my property. Where we want to put it is the flattest place I have on the property. It's the most cost-effective about putting a driveway in to get to the building. And that's really all I have. I've turned in all my documents to you guys, and that's all I got.
Okay.
A question I would have is, what do you need to store in that you can't already accommodate on your property now?
I have so when we moved in, it had a carport, we added a 2-car garage. My personal vehicle does not fit in that garage. My kids' toys are in that garage, so we can't even get my wife's van in that garage right now. I have lawn equipment, I have a camper, I have a boat that it stays at the marina. I have a wet slip, I keep at the marina, but every now and then I do bring it to the house to clean it up, to do maintenance on it. So that would be put in the garage, so it's not parked on the grass or blocking my actual driveway. I have a company truck that is in the driveway that I would like to put in storage in the garage out of the way. And that's it.
And what is your company truck?
It is a Freightliner M2 business class. It is I own a franchise, and that's what I want to put in the garage.
Do you have an idea of the weight of your truck?
It is 24,000, I think. And because of the weight of the truck, we did go with higher tensile strength concrete with rebar so that it won't crack.
Okay. All right. If you're done with your presentation, I'd like to hear from the opposition, and then we'll probably call you back up.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hello,
Hi.
my name is Steve Edwards. My wife and I couldn't agree on what to say, so we're both going to speak. I live at 531 Charing Cross Drive, and this variance, instead of asking for a minor adjustment to setbacks or other requirements, it almost asks for the county to ignore the zoning ordinance completely by reducing the street setback from 100 feet to 7 feet, and from eliminating the requirement that the secondary structure not be closer to a side street than the primary structure when it's on a corner lot. They're asking us to just completely ignore that. This building would be a 35 foot by 35 foot garage, about 12 feet from Wellington Drive at the entrance to our subdivision. And we think it would be it would hurt our property values. The hardship listed on the application for a variance is that this is the only level site on the property. A quick glance at his backyard shows that his backyard is fairly level. It's not perfectly level, but it's fairly level. The only thing this saves that allowing this variance accomplishes is to save him a little money by not following the ordinance and putting it right on the street. And for that reason, I'm opposed to this variance B43 being approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
One question before you leave. I know you received a number of signatures opposing this,
Yes.
and you emailed those to me. Do you have those to submit to the clerk, or?
I believe my wife has them, yes.
Okay, and what number did you get?
51.
51 in opposition? Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Oh. Yes, please.
My name is Jessie So, resided at 531 Charing Cross Drive. I prefer gardening than public speaking, but I have a very important message I must convey to the board. V43 is a prime example for people to sabotage the interest of homes in the subdivisions in the neighborhood because the personal gain. And you just heard the owner of 576 property that he just stated that's the most cost-efficient way that he can build this garage. How wonderful for him. Cost-efficient way for him to build this garage. How about the homes? People have lived there 45 years to establish their sanctuary there. And how convenient for someone who lived there for 2 years to build a garage building 35 by 35 right butt against Hawkins Store Road. How convenient that is for him. So we asked the review board to reject this variance in its entirety, period. And this is our main concerns. First, the stormwater runoff from the 70 feet wide pavement potentially flooding Wellington Drive. Second, this building and the proposed pavement but directly against Wellington are in the plain sight of Hawkins Store Road, Wellington, and Charing Cross. This building, located right at the entrance of our subdivision, will give our neighborhood a very low-end look and affect the marketability of our neighborhood and devalue our homes. Third, this garage building is going to be an eyesore, period. And it will affect the enjoyment of our living environment. Number 4, potential misuse of the building of commercial purpose as a tool distribution facility. The document pertaining to our petition submitted prior to this meeting speaks very clear and loud where we stand as a community on this matter. And each member of the review boards here, you have a home that you go back to at the end of the day. Will you embrace this garage building on your route home? Is that an eyesore for you? Will it? Will you enjoy looking at this 35-foot long, because the owner just told me, that metal tool is 30-foot long. And I submitted the information on the GVM on this vehicle to the board earlier, that for 20-foot long is the GVN is $25,500, and for a 30-foot long GVN is going to be, I believe, I don't remember the exact number, but it's going to be over 32,000 pounds. That commercial medical tool truck that we have looked at it for the past 2 years. So, and plus there is going to be a pavement that encloses this 30 by 35, 1,225 square foot garage. What is that parking lot is going to be used for? Are we still going to look at this medical truck, a boat, a travel trailer, which I don't know the length of it. It looks like it's about 40 feet long, a jet ski, and then keep in mind there is a shed there that's against the code already. And we as a neighborhood, we've been very tolerant. For the past 2 years, we have not said a word about it. But the proposal of building this 35 by 35 garage has gone too far, period. And I was able to talk to 3 of the 6 neighbors who had consented to the variance in March. One said, I just don't care. The second one was misinformed. And this gentleman told me that, oh, it was a carport. He does not know the size of the carport. He does not know the setback of the carport. He thought that's just something to help this resident to get his RV, his boat, his commercial truck, his jet ski, what have you. to protect all his toys under that carport. That's what he told me. Because I walk the street, I talk to people in the neighborhood. And the third one was very interesting. I was, it was just yesterday, I was collecting a signature from the neighborhood. She called me, I left the material prior. So I went to collect the material.
I'm sorry, but you're out of time.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. If you'll
Sorry.
please, if you have the petition to hand to us, that would be helpful.
Yes.
Just give, yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
So there was a letter.
All right, at this time, I would like to ask Kathy Pickett to come forward.
Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Can you tell us about this location and what y'all found when you went out?
Yes, ma'am. We received a complaint. Actually, it started out as a call from Mr. Edwards to our office inquiring about the zoning hearing, the upcoming zoning hearing. I directed him to Jeannie Payton, but advised him that code enforcement could address any code-related concerns on the property. And he advised me at that time that there were some concerns related to the boat and trailer being parked in the yard and the camper being parked in the yard. There wasn't really a mention, that was Friday afternoon, late Friday afternoon. I scheduled it for Monday for an officer to go out. Ms. So also had sent me some photos showing parts of the truck. We really couldn't see. The photos I got were upside down and real small images, so I couldn't really tell the size of the vehicle. The Matco vehicle was not on the property on the 9th when our officer went out. He went ahead and issued a notice of violation for parking standards. She had also sent additional photos yesterday showing the Matco vehicle on site. I had the officer go back today. Again, the vehicle is not on site. However, he issued the notice of violation based on the accusation. And then based on the admission, it sounds like it's a lot larger than what Ms. So had originally indicated that it was. Any vehicle, a commercial vehicle that's over 12,500 pounds in gross vehicle weight rating is not permitted to be parked on residential zone property. So it is a code violation. I'm not sure if the property owner has been home today, but there is a notice on the door advising that that vehicle needs to be removed from the property.
Okay.
So it cannot be parked on the property any longer.
And regarding the notice that was given earlier, what needs to happen in that regard?
For the parking standards, the boat and the camper need to be parked on a hardened treated surface. There's not a restriction. Ms. So had asked questions about a restriction on the weight limit of recreational vehicles, the size of recreational vehicles, and the county does not have an ordinance related to those items for recreational vehicles on residential zone property. Okay. So the camper and the boat can be there. They just have to be parked on a hardened treated surface, and they have to be operable with current tags attached.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any further questions?
Since we're talking about vehicles, based on the square footage of the house, how many personal vehicles are allowed on that property?
6. Based on, I did look at that when I talked to Mr. Edwards on Friday. There's 6 vehicles allowed to be parked. Only 4 of those can be parked outside of a carport or garage. And the recreational vehicles are not considered as part of those 6 vehicles. Those are considered to be basically daily drivers. But a commercial vehicle that's oversized does need to be removed from the property. It cannot be parked there.
Okay.
Thank you.
When code enforcement went out, was there any, did they check to see if there was anyone living in the camper, if it's used for living space?
No one was at home. So there, it didn't look like anyone was living in it. Typically when someone's occupying a recreational vehicle as a residence, the slides will be out. It'll be attached to, there'll be a water line attached, there'll be electricity attached, sometimes satellite, antenna is up. So it didn't indicate, there was no indication that there was anybody occupying. And also there was no accusation that it was being used for occupancy, just primarily storage.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And now, if Abby, you can come up from DOT.
Abby Reddick, Cobb DOT.
Can you address the comments regarding the building, proposed building, and where it's positioned on the property?
Sure. So part of our development standards for additional driveways in a single lot residential property, the maximum width would be 20 feet for an additional driveway, and this one looks to be about 70 feet. There's also about 20 feet from the edge of pavement to the building, and typically we recommend 20 feet of setback from the right-of-way in order to prevent vehicles parked within the right-of-way, which is where the no parking in the right-of-way comment comes from as well.
Okay. Any questions?
What is the depth of the right-of-way in that particular area?
It's about 12 feet, maybe, 10 to 12 feet.
So the building, the concrete itself would be, need to be 30, was my math
20
correct?
feet.
20 feet off the right-of-way, so it would be 12, but from the curb, from the street, it would be back 32 feet, is that 12 feet for the right-of-way?
The amount of right-of-way from the edge of pavement is 12 feet. Total from the center line of the road is about 25 feet. But from the right-of-way line, we would require an additional 10 feet. So that would bring it up to about 20 feet.
Setback from that, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't-
Can I have Kathy Pickett come back up? I have a question for her. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Sorry, I just
That's
noticed.
okay.
Can you have an RV parked out in the front of your house? Is that, it's not,
Yes.
that's not, you can do
Yeah,
that?
as long as it's parked on a hardened treated surface.
Okay.
There's a code for side and rear that you can only have one on the side or the rear. It's actually a total of 3 vehicles, an RV, a boat, and a vehicle. 3 to the side or the rear on a hardened treated surface, but there's no limitation on the front. And there's no restriction for the number of vehicles to the front, other than single-family dwelling.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. I did a site visit and reviewed the topography. Frankly, I didn't find there was a hardship regarding that this needed to be at the location as designated in the application. The lot is 1.49 acres. There's plenty of other places this building could go that would not require all of these variances and would not be such an eyesore for the neighborhood. So finding all of that, my motion is to deny this variance request.
I second it.
Do we have any other questions? Are we prepared to vote? All right, please vote. Deny. Variance denied, 4-0.
Okay, next case is variance case V44, Aqua Design Pools and Spas LLC, request a variance to increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from required 40% to 45% in land lot 103 of the 16th District. The property is located on the south side of Thunder Way, north of Outlook Way. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V44? Five. Let the record show there are 5 people here opposed to variance case V44. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Good afternoon, if you'll state your name.
Hi, my name is Faye Colbert from Aqua Design Pools and Spas out of Cumming, Georgia, once again. Hello, everyone. We would like to install a 400 square foot plunge pool in Mr. and Mrs. Bissell's backyard. We had looked into other types of pools, things in that nature, sizes as well. 400 square feet is a kind of a good spot where we had landed, enough floating room, should I say, a little bit to get wet. So the biggest issue in Mr. and Mrs. Bissell's backyard is a drainage problem that they currently have. One of the neighbors, so I'm going to direct you, if your back is to the house, to the left side, it comes down at a slope. One of the neighbors upstream had changed the grade and increased the flow into their backyard. I have a picture to show you from 1 year ago to current situation. So before and after picture. Sorry, got a lot going on here. All right, so this right here is a year ago. I hope this works. It's a cell phone picture, so I apologize. So that is 1 year ago. They had pretty green grass. It is growing well. And then after the drainage is changed, it's kind of turned into a muddy mess. Sorry, will that work? Okay. All right, so my phone looks like a muddy mess too. So what we're looking to do is redirect the water. So we also have a new site plan. We were able to move the pool in about 3 feet to get it off of the back line a little bit. So that way there's more of a buffer to add landscaping and keep the current Leland cypress trees, arborvitae trees that are back there so that the back neighbors will be buffered more. So we're going to keep all of those trees, the fencing, and so on. But our main goal is to redirect the water so that way they can have their backyard again. There is an existing stone wall that we're removing and going to add a more permanent structure. So if you see in this picture here, there's a little stacked stone wall that we are going to remove and add a more permanent structure, like a masonry structure, to direct the water where it currently belongs and where it should be, at the back property line. So it will go into the, if your back is to the house, to the right side neighbor that is currently downstream as well. We're going to direct the water to their current dry creek bed, which is where the water used to go instead of in Mr. and Mrs. Bissell's backyard. The pool will be constructed of pavers, and with that, you'll have a 4-inch gravel subbase as well as a 1-inch sand to allow for proper drainage. And then we're also looking to install a dry well system up underneath these pavers at the lower part of the yard. All of the lines in and around the pool area, the deck drains, as well as the downspouts will be directed into these dry wells to reduce any type of runoff to the property downstream to the right. I have a new survey to show you as well, and I have extra copies if y'all would like one. But to reduce the impervious by a little bit, I believe we can bring it down to 43% to help with that. So instead of being at 45, we can bring it down to 43 with the removal of the stone wall and to offset the amount of impervious, mitigate the amount of impervious back to the required 35%. So this is, we came up with this plan yesterday evening. I apologize, I did not have time to send it to you yesterday, but I have extra copies if you'd like. Are there any questions I can help answer?
So this has moved the pool 3 feet towards the home, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It was 10 foot off the back property line, and now it is 13 feet at the furthest distance and 11 foot 8 inches closest distance, because the property line does go at an angle.
And this was as close as you felt like it could go to the house?
Yes, because of the steps. So if you see where it says wood deck, there's kind of a grand staircase that comes down that's existing. It gives it about 2 feet from the side of the pool coping to the edge of those steps. For safety reasons, we don't want to put it any closer. We don't want to undermine any steps, as well as someone walk literally into the swimming pool. We did move it 1 foot to the right as well, so it will help there's a small wall, proposed masonry wall to the right-hand side. So if you see the stone wall, it has X's on it. There's another small wall that leads to the right. This will help direct the water to the back side of the pool where it used to go, instead of where the pool is currently. So whether or not we put the pool in, or Mr. and Mrs. Bissell decide not to move forward with the pool, which they've already signed, we're ready to go. But either way, there is going to have to be some walls installed. There's going to have to be significant landscaping and drainage installed in this property to make sure that there is no more runoff in their backyard, because it is a very muddy mess.
And as I recall, the reason for this new runoff problem was the neighbor just above did some regrading to their yard and caused this flow problem, correct?
Yes, ma'am. To my knowledge, and the way I've seen it, that the grade was changed to redirect their water, which is what any homeowner would do, but in turn it negatively impacted ours. And then, of course, downstream as well. So it doesn't really go into the dry creek bed like it should, but it doesn't affect the lower neighbor as much as this one.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is, when you're looking at the back, there's a circle with little holes in it?
Those are dry wells. So
That's a dry well?
Yes, ma'am. We're actually planning on over mitigating. So you only are required for 2 to mitigate down to 35%. So we're actually going to over mitigate by adding 1 extra one to catch any additional water flow that may come from the roof.
Those are those circles. The one that's down below, that's actually over onto another person's property?
Oh, that is an existing, like a slate or a paver patio that has been there for years and years. I'm not exactly sure as to why that existed for the homeowner, but that's been there for years. That's not proposed, that's existing.
Right. It's kind of, it's on someone else's some of it's on someone else's property.
Right, right.
And actually, that could be removed to add more surface, more pervious surface.
Yes, ma'am.
And then on this, in this one that you said here, there's an X, is the frame playhouse, is that being removed? Is that why there's an X there?
Yes, ma'am, that would be removed, yes.
And then you had said something about you were redirecting water to a neighbor's dry creek?
So the water used to direct into the, sorry, may I go back here to show? So, thank you. So the water used to direct back here along the back side of the property. And then when the neighbor in this area, sorry if you can see my finger, in this area changed the drainage, it started to go in this area here instead of behind. So our goal is to route the water with these walls here and direct it to go in a sheet flow pattern back to its original area of drainage, to go this, where my finger was pointing.
So are we redirecting it to?
The existing flow prior to the neighbor.
Which is maybe another neighbor's house?
Which is this neighbor here.
Is there any way to redirect it to another dry well on this person, on this property
So-
versus redirecting this sheet over to another, to create another issue?
Correct. We are taking all of the runoff from our client's home and directing it into the dry well. So there's not going to be any additional runoff to the neighbor. All of our runoff is going to be into the dry well. Any runoff that is from the neighbor upstream is going to be redirected to the backside of the swimming pool and to leave in a sheet flow position. So if there is any runoff coming from the neighbor in this area here, it would be captured in a drain directed to the dry well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The folks in opposition, whoever the spokesperson is, come up and state your name and, well, you have 10 minutes, so decide how you want to divide it out. How about that?
Thank you. My name is Christopher Andrus. I live at the property that's been encroached upon, right here. Oops, I'm sorry. This. Okay. The one that's got the rock patio and the wall that's on my property. I've been in the house for 18 years. That wasn't there when I bought the house. So I will be filing for a quiet title and all of that will be removed that's on my property. So I don't know how that changes their plan or how the water is moving because that 4-foot wall will no longer be there and part of that rock patio will no longer be there. Thank you.
My name is Greg Butler. I am the neighbor downstream from the Bissell's house, the lot 137. My main concern is, as the representative from the pool company has brought up, the extra water that's going to go down the dry creek bed. That actually affects my property and my other neighbor's property. We've been struggling to deal with the water. I've been there for 25 years. About 15 years ago, I'd actually put in the dry creek bed, added to it and made it bigger, and actually put in a catch basin and piped the water out to the street. So far, for the last 15 years, it has, for the most part, handled the problem. My concerns are having additional water into that dry creek bed. It can't handle much more. I've had numerous situations where the water has damaged my property. It comes out of the banks, it runs across my yard, it runs across my driveway, it takes the mulch, the plants, it's ruined my grass before. Like I said, the drain itself has helped immensely, but I have to stay on top of it and make sure that there's never any leaks. It's maxed out, it can't really handle much more water. Not necessarily opposed to the pool or anything like that, but my concerns are about the extra water that's going to be pushed into that dry creek bed and ultimately down on our property, affecting, again, both of our properties. I'm on one side of the dry creek bed and they're on the other side. Those are our main concerns.
Okay. Any other opposition that wants to speak? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. I guess I'd like to ask Carl to come forward, please.
Carl Carver, Cobb County Stormwater.
Hi, Carl. So in a case like this where one neighbor does something that affects next door and so on, how do you make it right? How do you get it back to where it needs to be for the neighborhood? I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah. If there was grading done upstream, I mean, we don't have any kind of record or any kind of review process for that. I would think that if there is an easement there, which I'm not sure if there is or not, then, you know, the drainage into that easement needs to be maintained, and it's all maintained by the property owners. With the pool going in and the mitigation they're proposing, which was not on the original plan, but would have been required if the variance is approved, should help remove some drainage from the dry creek bed because they're collecting their water on site.
Can you kind of explain for me how the dry wells work and will help this situation?
Basically, the dry wells are basically they excavate a large pit, basically, and then there's like a good analogy is like a milk crate or an open product that's put in the pit, and then stone is backfilled in and around it, and all the runoff from the house or other areas is piped into that. The idea is to infiltrate the ground with the stormwater runoff.
And then the water that's in the dry well, it's not piped anywhere, it just stays where it's at and absorbs into the earth?
Correct. Once the dry well fills up with water, it can fill up with water, it will come to the surface and then ease out the top of the surface.
Okay. Based on your years of experience, do you think the 3 dry wells are sufficient, given what you know?
Boy, that's a loaded question.
I know, I'm sorry.
It's very soil dependent. If it's done properly, it should last for a while. If they do things like put leaf guards on their downspouts, if they put in observation wells to make sure that the stone that's around these dry wells is not getting clogged with sediment and leaves, then they should last a while. But it can be a long-term maintenance item that residents need to be aware of.
Okay.
Would it be beneficial if they did a soil test to know the type of soil they're dealing with, to see it would adequately, 3 would handle it, or if you needed to add more based on the soil, whether or not it was good soil for that purpose?
That's obviously a better step, to do that, to obtain some borings and get the soil analyzed by a soil scientist to see if it will percolate. If there's rock in the area and that kind of stuff, then it tends to not percolate.
I have a question. They were, I could be wrong, but they were saying that they're going to, what's coming off the property in the back, going down into like a dry creek. I think that was on some other person's property. Is a dry creek bed more efficient than a dry well? Can a dry creek bed feed into a dry well? I just think to mitigate what's moving along, even though it's not their water, it's still water, it's on their property, to mitigate it on their property, what would you?
A dry creek bed can be designed to also encourage infiltration. And basically what it is it's a more linear dry well. It's the same principle. It's just more linear. So sometimes these dry wells that we see on the plans, they're 10 feet deep, where a dry creek bed designed as what the state calls an enhanced drainage well is maybe only 3 feet deep, but it's linear. So the volume is approximately the same.
So from the description of sort of it, the water is coming across the back of the property, that it, rather than getting in those 3 little circle things that they had displayed on the plan that we don't have, that having a dry creek bed along the side of their property to the neighbor I'm looking down, so the neighbor on the left, 137, that might be something that would help mitigate it going into their property, if it's done correctly. Yes, no?
Maybe. You know, I think, you know, along with my stipulations that they provide an updated site plan for permitting and approval, that along with that plan, that they've also provided grading plan so that I can see how they're going to grade the site after the pool is put in place.
Would it be helpful to add the soil, thank you. Would it be helpful to add the soil test requirement too, so that when you review the plan, it adds some additional information that might be helpful?
That's always helpful, but it's not something that's absolutely required. We require it on stormwater management ponds, but that's mostly on commercial and big residential development. On individual homes, we don't require that.
Thank you.
Keep bringing back. Can we bring you back?
Carl?
Can we get you back? We're not letting you go that easy. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, if we were going to require some sort of soil testing, how many test spots and where and of what depth would need to be probed?
Well, at this point, it looks like they already have calculations of where they're going to put the flow wells. So obviously, put the boring right there, soil test right there. And if they can test the depth down to what they've estimated the volume needs to be, then that works. That works best.
Okay, I think we're done. Thank you. Any further comments from the board? All right. I must say that I was surprised at the opposition because I had not heard a word from anybody until today. Given the plan that's new, and did you submit that to the clerk? Okay, we need to get that done. So the fact that we have the opposition, that we have a new plan that we haven't truly studied, I would like to make a motion to hold this for 30 days and ask that the applicant do the soil test to determine if these dry wells are appropriate and will work where they're going to be placed, and also hopefully to give time for the applicants and the opposition to talk and maybe resolve some of the issues and concerns that y'all have. So that is my motion as stated.
Second.
Please enter your votes. It passes to hold this case 4-0. Thank you.
Okay, next case is variance case V46, signal signs. Request a variance to reduce the setback for a freestanding sign from required 62 feet from the center line of an arterial road right-of-way to 56 feet for sign B and to 44 feet for sign C in land lots 36, 37, and 1296 of the 17th and 19th district. The property is located on the south side of Veterans Memorial Highway, on the east side of Whispering Pines Road, and on the west side of Mapleton Parkway. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V46?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
So John, we have the sign company here and then a representative of the property owner. Would you like them both to be sworn in? Okay.
Good afternoon. If you'll come forward, give us your name and all that other standard process.
I'm Marcia Jones with Signal Signs. We are the ones being contracted to install the signs at the shopping center.
Do you have images to show us?
The same that was submitted in the packet with the each sign showing that. Do you have those?
Yes.
That show the existing sign and then the change
Yeah.
that we're making to each one.
If you can, we can put them on the screen. That's helpful. Just new to this.
So as you can see there, that's the existing sign on the Mapleton Parkway side.
If you'll use the mic, please, they'll help us. Thank you.
This is the existing sign that's on the Mapleton Parkway side that we're going to be updating to this sign here. And of course, the shopping center has two other signs that we are going to update so everything matches. That's the existing one down near Barnes Hardware at this time. This would be the updated version for that entrance. And then this is the last sign that's more up toward Sherwin-Williams in that direction on Veterans Memorial with the updated sign for that entrance.
So am I clear to understand that what you're asking for is to maintain the exact same size of signs that currently exist that are larger than currently allowed?
Exactly, and to add the decorative metal around the entire sign.
Okay. I noticed that in some of the photos, we see some types of landscaping. Do you know, or is this something to ask the gentleman with Brixmore, what the plans are to leave any landscaping in place or added back to basically for beautification purposes?
Anything that's damaged will be replaced in that area.
Okay.
I noticed that it was approved, but there was a change, so I didn't know if there was questions that I needed to answer.
Well,
on the.
I needed to be clear myself on
Okay.
what your plans were, because this is my adopted district at the moment.
Oh, okay.
And to understand, because I know this area well, and I just wanted to be sure I was in complete understanding and understood, like, the area is working on being revitalized, and the landscaping and beautification that could be maintained would only be an asset to the whole area.
Definitely.
So I don't have any, is this representing who actually is going to be tenants that are currently listed, or are these just example for sign purposes?
No, all the signs are going to stay in the same place where they are now, and then we're going to work to put the metal cover and update the tenant signs per each location there.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions? I was going to ask some of the gentlemen from Brixmore. I think you're good. Could we ask the gentleman from the owner? Everybody's so young looking nowadays. Everybody's so young looking now.
Thank you all for taking the time to hear us. I'm Daniel Bush with Brixmore. I'm the director of the South Region, and I believe you all are aware of most of the changes here, but what kind of questions would you like to ask?
Well, it's not anything we necessarily can put into a stipulation, but we can do an encouragement. So I just wanted to keep this in a regular case to say, this area is, you and I have spoken, because I've spoken to you about it, is very interested in improving the whole area, and these enhanced, new signage, I think, is certainly an enhancement, but also in hopes that you will consider anything you can do in the area in the way of beautification around those particular areas, and didn't know if you had any specific plans that would relate to what we have before us today that would be helpful for us to know.
You mean such as landscape plans or things of that nature? No, I don't have a landscape plan for this. What the intention was, and as we spoke before, we're doing this in 3 phases. So there's a revitalization of the shopping center, a revitalization of the building out on the out parcel in front, and then in the back portion as well. It's about a almost $21 million renovation. So there is money in it for landscaping, for parking lot improvements, for the stop signs that we had mentioned adding in. I worked that out with the property owner as well in the area that was dangerous toward the front at the main entrance. So really, it's just a matter of going to the site and trying to improve everything that we see there. I joined Brixmor at the beginning of this year. This project's been going on about, I think we purchased this property about a little over 3 years ago, maybe 4. And so, as you say, it's, or as you've seen, rather, it's, it's in need of repair. And so when we purchase properties, we like to always, in the first 2 to 3 years, bring them up to, a standard that we're proud of. We have some sayings internally about being proud of our work, but I think that in this instance, the signage upgrades are going to be a big improvement. I'd hate to leave the signage the way that it was, and so definitely any landscaping, like she said, that's disturbed will be replaced, and anything, any recommendations that you have, we'll definitely listen to.
All righty, thank you. I'm good. Anybody have any?
We can't make you, we can beg you. So, over on Johnson Ferry, there's some shopping centers that were going through major renovations, and they would be doing all of their signage. And so around the signage, they had put some really nice planting boxes where they put whatever, the seasonal flowers. And then they also have in some areas, they have really nice shrubbery. So if you wanted to ever go over far from here onto Johnson Ferry, you can look at some of the shopping centers just to get some ideas. The signs that you're putting up are such a huge improvement and so pretty. And it was sort of like that was what happened over there on that end of town over in East Cobb. And it just kind of softens it a little bit. So it's just a suggestion. Again, we can just beg you to do that, to look at it, but we can't hold you to.
Kim, do you know where that shopping center is or the name of
Yes.
the shopping center?
Now that you're going to ask me what the name
If you, I've got his
Merchants Walk. You can look at that. And it's on Johnson Ferry, like between Lower Roswell and Roswell Road. But if you drive up in that strip there, you can see some of the shopping centers that have the signage. There's quite a number that have that landscaping around there.
Okay, I appreciate the advice. I'm always looking for new ways to improve things, even if it's not at this center, for other centers as well.
Yeah, they did, in some of them they did, because there was just a sea. A lot of the residents didn't like the sea of parking, and so they put in some medians in between that had landscape medians, so that when you drove by, you just didn't have this sea of parking. So that might be something you want to look at as well. At the time, they had come in for a variance again. We could beg him. So what we did was allow for less parking in order to put these landscape buffers inside the parking. So that might be something you want to look at as well. It just kind of helps soften, the mega stores and make it look, kind of soften it from people driving by on the street. So those are just suggestions, and again, I'll just beg you to look at them. Thank you.
Thanks. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the variance request as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, can we please place our votes? It is passed 4-0. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
All right, next case is variance case V48. Alita Guerrero requests a variance to number 1, reduce the side setback from required 10 feet to 1 foot adjacent to the northern property line, which is existing. Number 2, reduce the rear setback from required 30 feet to 27 feet, which is existing. And number 3, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an existing approximately 252 square foot shed from required 30 feet from the rear to 5 feet and from 10 feet from the side to 2 feet adjacent to the southern property line in land lot 929 of the 19th District. The property is located on the east side of Citizen Circle, south of Brookwood Drive. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V48?
No.
Let the record says no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
My name is Jorge Guerrero. I'm here with my grandmother, Elila Guerrero, and we're just here to, we want to renovate our front porch. We want to pretty much improve it because it's very outdated, and we have a picture of how it's going to pretty much look like.
Where did all these other things come in? When you asked to change your front porch, is this when it was discovered that you had certain elements in your yard that were in the setbacks? Is this how the variance request evolved?
What do you mean by that?
Well, you're asking for a front porch, and what I'm looking at here is asking for setbacks, reduce the side setback from the required 10 feet because you have a shed. Have you been made aware of the various violations you have? Your shed is sitting in a setback for your property where it should not be. You can sometimes ask.
Yeah, I forgot about that. We're also asking about the shed as well. We could get those approved.
And what is that shed used for?
Pretty much tools and storage. It's really pretty much that.
And I noticed, do you have I noticed it referenced this as a company that's based there?
You said what?
A company?
No, there's no.
You do not have a business that you located in there?
No, we don't have no business located in our property. No.
Okay, because it comes up that there's a business license attached to that street address. Just
Homeowner?
just a homeowner?
My grandmother is.
I am the owner.
Okay,
And we build it.
Yes, I understand that. So I'm a little confused. I think this is really just a cleanup. I drove by your property the other day, but because of your fencing, I couldn't see any of the buildings that that are referenced in this variance request. So just let me know.
All the house has, excuse me, all the house are the porch, but we porch is already rusty because it has iron, and we had to decide to building a little much bigger. We asked for a neighbor sign, and they agree, they not disapprove.
They don't disapprove?
They approve.
They
We can do
approve.
it.
Did they give you anything in writing that you could bring to us?
De los vecinos.
We sent it to zoning. Zoning has all our paperwork.
There's two on file. There's two on file that are approved.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to check. All right, when I drove by and couldn't see everything, and and I see the presentation on a porch, and this is really just to clean up the property so you can move forward. Okay, that's what I needed to hear, because I was not made aware of the porch request. So, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. I make a motion that we approve the variance as requested. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please vote. It passes 4-0. Thank you very much. All right, Fred, you get the last one.
Okay, last case is variance case V49, Jeff Phillips. Request a variance to, number one, allow an accessory structure, an approximately 322 square foot garage to be located to the side of the principal building. Number two, increase the maximum allowable impervious surface from 35% to 41.87%. And number three, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a proposed 260 square foot overhang from required 35 feet from the rear to 23 feet, and from required 10 feet from the side to 5 feet adjacent to the eastern property line in land lot 217 of the 20th District. The property is located on the south side of Davis Farm Drive, south of Stylesboro Road. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V49?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Good afternoon. I'm Hayden Phillips, and we're requesting a variance. If you get down the photos, got a couple. So we'd like to propose to put in a swimming pool, and that includes also a pergola structure next to it. That's what's referenced to be the garage. I'd just like to say currently our subdivision in Davis Farm does not have any amenities for the residents of the subdivision, no swimming pool, tennis courts, or anything like that. Other residents in the subdivision, including at least 4 have-built swimming pools. The proposed pool area is intended to be used for general relaxation and visual appeal purposes. The residents do not have any young children and will not be creating any loud noise obstructions or most things like that. There's an existing cedar privacy fence that is about 6 to 7 foot tall and provides privacy and sound barrier to the adjacent neighbors. The proposed garage structure is a designer aluminum pergola that is a clean-looking, sleek, and modern. It does not have any steep roof pitches. We have taken careful consideration to the screening trees that are to be installed. We have already put in the ground 15 Thuja Green Giant and 3 Western Red Cedars spaced approximately 5 to 6 feet apart along both sides of the property line. The existing trees range from 8 feet all the way down to 6 feet currently, and we'll be happy to adjust those spacing, but we went ahead and put them in the ground just to make sure they can go ahead and start growing this season. And we've got one photo that's pulled up over there. That's from the side elevation. You can see the rendering where we've got the proposed garage structure is that pergola pavilion, and that is a pulley system on that structure that changes it from a rain that can come through and then it can block the sun. And if we'll swipe, can you swipe the photo to the right? Got it?
Overhead?
Yeah, just one more to the right. Yep. And go ahead and turn that. That's just an overhead view. You'll probably got to tilt the phone up. It's the last one of the day, just bear with us.
Technology, hey. I've had an hour to practice.
All right, we won't touch it from there. Don't touch it. This is the overhead view. You can see the existing, proposed pool layout. The round patio that's attached to the home dwelling is already existing. We're proposing the pool structure, the surrounding decking, which is to be travertine, and then the pergola structure that is built out of aluminum that's next to the fence. We are taking into consideration any stormwater concerns, given Mr. Carver's request. We would like to put in a flow well system, although it's not represented on our plans, but we are presumed that it will be required under final review, given the increase in impervious square footage. I have a few other photos, but they basically represent the same thing. I believe this photo is probably the best for your all's perspective. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, is Jeff and Hayden the same person or different people?
No.
I'm his son. This is my father.
Jeff is the father. I'm the homeowner who purchased the property and took possession as of March 1st.
Okay.
And that large patio was existing, and I inherited that, the nice circle bluestone, and it's the pool that we're adding in the living space.
All right. Second, thank you for all the nice photos, the visuals. That's helpful to give us a feel for what you planned back there. Can you explain to me, what is the stuff shown here on the far right of this visual?
Up against the fence line?
Yes.
That is the pool equipment pad. Far right.
Far right. Opposite of my hand. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. You can put those up. Yeah, pool equipment.
Okay. And can you explain to me, let's go back, if you could shrink this a little again, let's go back to the far left. Why is it necessary to put the pool decking that close to that fence line on the left?
Given the width of the yard, I don't believe the pool decking poses a concern. I believe it's the overhang in the pergola structure, if I'm not mistaken. We've considered placement of the pool and different screening. We're trying to push it up as far to the left property line as possible, just so that we can have space on the right for actual grass. We have 2 dogs that, need space to hang out and play. So, anything below the pool is mostly shade, and there's not much grass that could grow there. So we're really trying to maximize space.
Well, I'm going to ask you to come back. I know what my motion is going to be, and folks may or may not agree with me, but I appreciate how beautiful this is. First, I would like you to submit these to us in an email so we have these to discuss at our next work session, unless we go a different way today. But what my comment would be, I don't see the necessity of the variance on the property line to the left, as shown in this visual. I'd love to see a little less of, even though it looks nice, I'd like to see a little less of the stone. And I would also like to see, there will have to be mitigation, but it was noted by Stormwater that there's already an existing condition where you have a downspout drainage system that presently already creates a sheet flow discharge towards the neighboring property, apparently to the rear. I can confirm that with Stormwater, but you can do the same. So I'd like for you to address that issue that apparently is already existing.
I inherited when we purchased. Yeah, there are 2 pipes that go under the ground that we could remove with a shovel.
Right.
Easily.
Okay, so I would just like to see all those things addressed, and I think we could probably get this down to a degree. And what my concern is the recognition by Stormwater of an existing sheet flow discharge. So I want to make sure that whatever we end up with here doesn't leave an adverse condition for your neighbors. So anybody else with questions or comments, please?
I just have one more thing for you to consider when looking at the plan that Stormwater also has said in their comments, is that you might want to look at using some pervious pavers It may not match what you currently have in your patio, but it could be close. And on your impervious pavers, they're considered 60% impervious. So that would give you, that could bring down your requests for the impervious addition. So you might want to look at that as well.
Okay.
Anyone else? So with those comments, my motion would be that we hold this for 30 days and consider those submissions from you and try to make sure we come up with a good plan for dealing with the stormwater.
Okay, will do. Thank you all.
I'll second. Shall we vote, please? Y'all are ahead of the game. All right, passes. The whole passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Okay, now we have a little quick housekeeping. We finished with everything, Mr. Peterson? Thank you very much. All right, you have in front of you minutes from our agenda review session on May 9th and from our last meeting on April 13th. Have you had time to review the minutes, please?
Yes.
All right, do we have any corrections? Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please vote. Thank you. Is there any other, passes 4-0, approval of the minutes from both meetings? Is there anything else that needs to be discussed by this group? If not,
Vice Chair.
yeah, we can do that in the work session next time, but good point. Anyway, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you. We are all in favor. Thank you. Thanks.